Your partner has been telling you that you snore. Maybe they have moved to the spare room. Maybe they nudge you 3 times a night to roll over. You dismiss it. Snoring is annoying, not dangerous. Millions of men snore. Your father snored. It is just what happens when you get older and gain a little weight. Except it is not just snoring. What is happening in your airway while you sleep is triggering a chain reaction that touches your testosterone, your belly fat, your blood pressure, your energy, your mood, and your risk for a cardiac event. Snoring after 40 is not a noise problem. It is a warning signal from a system that is failing. And most men will never connect it to the damage it is doing because the damage accumulates silently, year after year, while they sleep. The condition is called obstructive sleep apnea, and it exists on a spectrum. At one end is simple snoring, where the airway partially narrows but stays open. At the other end is full apnea, where the airway collapses completely. Breathing stops for 10 to 30 seconds at a time, oxygen saturation drops, and the brain triggers an emergency arousal to restart breathing. Most men with sleep apnea are somewhere in the middle. They do not stop breathing long enough to notice, but the airway narrows sufficiently to reduce oxygen flow and fragment sleep architecture dozens or hundreds of times per night. They never wake up fully. They have no memory of the disruptions, but the body registers every single one. After 40, several factors converge to make this dramatically more common and more damaging. Weight gain around the neck and jaw, even modest amounts, narrows the airway physically. Muscle tone in the throat and tongue decreases with age, making the soft tissue more likely to collapse during sleep. Testosterone itself plays a role. Low testosterone is associated with reduced muscle tone in the upper airway, which increases collapsibility. This creates a feedback loop. Low testosterone makes apnea worse, and apnea makes testosterone lower. The testosterone connection is the part most men never hear about. Deep sleep, specifically stages 3 and 4 of non-REM sleep, is when the largest pulse of testosterone is produced overnight. The pituitary gland releases luteinizing hormone during deep sleep, which signals the testes to produce testosterone. When sleep apnea fragments the sleep cycle, the body never reaches or sustains deep sleep long enough for this pulse to occur fully. Research shows that men with untreated moderate sleep apnea have testosterone levels 10 to 15% lower than men of the same age without apnea. In men with severe apnea, the reduction can be 20% or more. This is not a subtle effect. A 20% reduction in testosterone production happening every single night for years compounds into a hormonal deficit that no supplement can overcome while the apnea persists. The cortisol side makes it worse. Every time the brain triggers an arousal to restart breathing, it fires a microdose of cortisol and adrenaline. In a man with moderate apnea experiencing 15 to 30 events per hour, that is 120 to 240 cortisol spikes per night. Cortisol and testosterone compete for the same precursor molecule, pregnenolone. When cortisol demand is chronically elevated, pregnenolone is diverted away from testosterone production. This is the pregnenolone steal, and in a man with apnea, it is happening hundreds of times every night. The combined effect of suppressed deep sleep and chronic cortisol elevation creates a hormonal environment where testosterone production is attacked from both sides simultaneously. And this directly drives belly fat. Low testosterone increases visceral fat storage. High cortisol increases visceral fat storage. Visceral fat increases aromatase activity, the enzyme that converts remaining testosterone into estrogen. More estrogen signals the body to store more fat. The loop feeds itself. Many men with sleep apnea gain weight steadily, even when their diet and activity level have not changed. They blame the food or the aging process. The real driver is a hormonal cascade that starts in the throat every night. The cardiovascular risk is the most serious consequence, and the reason this is not just a quality of life issue. Repeated oxygen desaturation during apnea episodes causes oxidative stress in blood vessel walls. Over time, this accelerates atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in arteries. Untreated moderate to severe sleep apnea doubles the risk of hypertension and significantly increases the risk of atrial fibrillation, stroke, and heart attack. The cardiovascular system is being stressed hundreds of times per night, and unlike a hard workout that stresses the system and then allows recovery, apnea provides no recovery window. The stress is continuous, every night, for years. This is why losing weight and doing more cardio often fails to resolve the problem on its own. If apnea is driving the cortisol elevation and testosterone suppression that are causing the weight gain, then the weight gain is a symptom, not the root cause. Addressing the symptom while the root cause persists is like mopping a floor while the faucet is still running. The protocol starts with assessment. If you snore regularly and experience any combination of daytime fatigue that coffee cannot fully resolve, morning headaches, waking up to urinate more than once per night, difficulty concentrating, or a partner reporting that your breathing stops or becomes irregular during sleep, you likely have some degree of sleep apnea. A home sleep study can confirm and quantify the severity. These are available through most physicians and increasingly through direct-to-consumer services without a referral. The test is done in your own bed with a small device that measures airflow, oxygen saturation, and chest movement. The key number is the AHI, apnea-hypopnea index, which counts the number of events per hour. Mild is 5 to 15. Moderate is 15 to 30. Severe is above 30. For mild to moderate apnea, positional therapy and weight management can make a significant difference. Sleeping on your side, rather than your back, reduces airway collapse substantially. A simple technique is taping a tennis ball to the back of a t-shirt, which prevents rolling onto the back during sleep. Elevating the head of the bed by 4 to 6 inches, not just adding pillows, but actually raising the bed frame, uses gravity to keep the airway more open. Reducing alcohol consumption is critical because alcohol relaxes the throat muscles and worsens airway collapsibility. Even 2 drinks in the evening can double the number of apnea events during the night. Eliminating alcohol entirely for 90 days while addressing other factors gives the clearest signal of how much improvement is possible. For moderate to severe apnea, CPAP therapy remains the most effective treatment available. A CPAP machine delivers continuous positive air pressure through a mask, keeping the airway open throughout the night. Compliance is the main challenge. Many men try CPAP, find the mask uncomfortable, and stop using it within weeks. Modern machines are significantly quieter and masks are more comfortable than even 5 years ago. If you tried CPAP previously and abandoned it, it is worth trying a current generation machine with a properly fitted mask from a specialist. Addressing the weight component requires understanding that the standard approach of caloric restriction may not work in the presence of active apnea because the hormonal environment actively promotes fat storage. Compound resistance training, squats, deadlifts, bench press, and rows, 3 sessions per week, stimulates testosterone production directly through mechanical loading and muscle signaling, partially offsetting the testosterone suppression from disrupted sleep. Combining resistance training with the sleep interventions creates a 2-pronged approach where each intervention supports the other. Magnesium glycinate at 400 milligrams before bed supports muscle relaxation throughout the body, including the throat muscles, and promotes deeper sleep quality in the windows between apnea events. Zinc at 25 milligrams daily supports testosterone synthesis directly. These are not replacements for addressing the airway problem, but they support the hormonal recovery while the primary intervention takes effect. Nasal breathing during the day and training the body to breathe through the nose during sleep is another intervention that many men overlook. Mouth breathing during sleep worsens airway collapse because the jaw drops back and the tongue falls toward the throat. Mouth taping, using a small piece of surgical tape over the lips during sleep, encourages nasal breathing and has been shown to reduce snoring and mild apnea events in men who are not nasal obstructed. This is not appropriate for severe apnea, but for mild cases, it can be a surprisingly effective low-cost intervention. Start by practicing during the day to ensure you can breathe comfortably through your nose, and test one night with tape to assess comfort before making it a regular practice. Myofunctional exercises, which are exercises that strengthen the muscles of the tongue, throat, and soft palate, have been shown in multiple clinical studies to reduce apnea severity by 30 to 50% in mild to moderate cases. The exercises are simple: pressing the tongue flat against the roof of the mouth and holding for 5 seconds, 10 repetitions, sliding the tongue along the roof of the mouth from front to back, 10 repetitions. Inflating the cheeks fully and holding for 10 seconds, then releasing, 10 repetitions. These exercises take 5 minutes per day and directly address the muscle tone problem that allows the airway to collapse. Results typically appear after 4 to 6 weeks of daily practice. Inflammation plays a role that most men never consider. Systemic inflammation from processed food, excess visceral fat, and poor sleep swells the tissues of the upper airway, further narrowing it. Anti-inflammatory interventions, specifically omega-3 supplementation at 2 to 3 grams of combined EPA and DHA daily, and reducing processed food and seed oils, can measurably reduce airway inflammation over 4 to 8 weeks. This does not cure apnea on its own, but in combination with the other interventions, it reduces one of the factors contributing to airway narrowing. The timeline for improvement depends on severity. Men who address mild apnea through positional therapy and alcohol elimination often report better energy and reduced daytime fatigue within 2 to 3 weeks. Men who begin CPAP for moderate to severe apnea frequently describe the first night of full treatment as a revelation, with energy levels and mental clarity improving dramatically within the first week. Testosterone levels typically begin recovering within 4 to 8 weeks of consistent treatment as deep sleep is restored and the nightly cortisol assault diminishes. Your snoring is not just an annoyance. It is a nightly assault on your hormonal system, your cardiovascular health, and your metabolic function. Every night it continues untreated. The loop tightens. Now you know the mechanism, and you know exactly where to intervene.